Do we? I don't think we have.
Rick, you want to be our counter?
Sure.
Okay, cool. Thank you. All right. Hey, it is 12 o'clock. And I want to formally say hello. And what is it? The day, 2 days after St. Patrick's Day. But nobody's wearing green. So people are going to be, oh, hey, Paul's wearing
Found
green.
an Irishman.
Yeah, oh, look at that. Lucille's got green nails. That is very, very cool. Well, I hope you guys had a good time celebrating and we'll be celebrating this weekend. I wanted to welcome, we've got 2 guests here today. We've got Tammy, is it Axtell? Mm-hmm. And then we also have Diane Abrams, who is our area director. So hello. And Tammy,
hello.
if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself and tell us what brings you to our Toastmasters group, that'd be great.
Okay, I'm Tammy Axtell. I live here in Carlsbad, and I've known about Toastmasters a long time. I think actually early in my career, like 30 years ago, I went to a couple meetings out in Long Beach and then had never had the occasion. And I'm in the process of sort of transitioning careers. I have a heavy marketing background, and I'm transitioning to something completely different, and that's health coaching. And it does involve a lot of presentations, but also individual interactions. And so, and I'm scared to death of speaking in front of people. And so this is like, I thought, a great thing to try. And even if I never use it in my future career, to be able to master it and get that confidence, because I definitely need confidence in that area. So yeah, so that's a little bit about me.
Thank you so much, Tammy. That's a fantastic introduction. And thank you for sharing that with us, because sometimes it's difficult to share your vulnerabilities. And I want to tell you that you're really in the right place. And this is a fantastic group. We're a very supportive group. And I don't know of any other way to get over speaking fears besides speaking, just jumping in and doing it. And you'll find that the more you do it within this group, it's a nice safe haven plus a supportive group. Plus we also give evaluations. And as you'll see today, evaluations are supportive as well as constructive. So it's going to be really good for someone like yourself. And as you can see, a lot of us here have joined and have been around for a long time. We've got some members who have been here for 10, 15 years. So it's a very, very stable organization. And awesome. With that, let's see. Hi, Corey. I wanted to introduce Diane Abrams, who is our area director. And for those of you who may not know what that means, is she actually covers the local area within the North County area, and that encompasses 8 different Toastmaster groups. And we are just a small part of hundreds of organizations, and that means hundreds of thousands of people within the globe, all around the world, internationally. And so I'm really proud and excited to introduce Diane, who's visiting us here today. So Diane, welcome. If you have anything you'd like to say.
Thank you, Madam President. And I'm so happy to be here, fellow Toastmasters at Expressions Unlimited. You guys are just a fun group of people, and you mean business too, because I'd like to recognize you for being select distinguished. You just have a couple more months to go. Maybe you could put it over the top and become President's Distinguished, but great job being select distinguished. You have not let this pandemic get in the way. You keep moving forward. Good for you. And I'm here just to answer any questions. We've got the Northern Division contest coming up in actually just 2 weeks on Saturday, April 3rd. And I know they're always looking for volunteers. If you wanted to volunteer as a functionary or to attend, we've got the information on the district's website. And I think that, Deanna, maybe you've got that as well, if people want to just log in and attend as a guest or fellow Toastmasters. And Paul Kildani will be representing Area 18. He's a member of several different clubs. He's an outstanding speaker. So again, I'm really happy to be here today, and I look forward to a great meeting. Back to you, Deanna.
Thank you so much, Diane. And for those of you who are new to, we like to applause our speakers. And normally, since we can't applause if we're muted, we're doing the universal applause, which is this. So please, let's just practice that right now. Yay, everybody's hands are working. Okay, all right. And I am going to go ahead and introduce Pat, who is our Toastmaster today. So please welcome Pat Hartley.
Am I muted? Oh, okay, I'm not muted. Welcome, everyone. And today, I just wanted to start with, we don't do our club mission sometimes, so I just wanted to start with that. Like, our mission is to provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which our members are empowered to develop greater communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. So today, my topic, my theme for the meeting is habits, just being aware of our habits, conscious or kind of unconscious habits that we do, behaviors. The word of the day is dedication. That's for the table topics. When we get to the table topics section, we try to use that word of the day in the table topics. So habits, the theme I chose because it's still kind of starting the year. We're still early in the year, so we still have time if we had those New Year's resolutions to kind of work on those habits and modify them or kind of adjust them. For me, I wanted to just be more mindful of my eating, my sleep habits. So I've been working on that. Toastmasters is a good habit to have also. Well, so when I was coming up with the topic, I thought of there's different categories like your health, like your spiritual health, your mental health, your physical health, and what is a good thing for that combines all three. I found that like stretching and yoga or something like that is good for your spiritual health, your physical health, and your kind of emotional health. Another thing I found was gardening. Like that, for me, like that's getting out into the outside nature is good for your physical health, your kind of like your emotional health, spiritual health. So those are good things, habits to work on. And the main thing is just if you're not sticking to your habits or to your routine, to just kind of be gentle with yourself. You're not going to bat 1,000 every time. And just being kind to yourself, that self-talk that kind of goes on, it's easy to say, oh, I didn't do it today, but just give yourself a break and you can skip a day or have a cheat day on the diet. So with that, I will start off our meeting. Should I introduce the roles, or I think we're okay with that. We do have some newcomers. Oh, okay. We can introduce the roles. Our table topics master is Devin. Do you want to describe that, Devin, or?
Sure. Yeah, so table topics is the chance to do a little off the cuff speaking. So in that section, we'll be looking for 45 seconds to about a minute and a half of an answer based on the theme questions of the day.
Thank you, Deanna. I mean, Devin, excuse me. Our joke master, Megan. And if you want to throw out your joke, that's a good time to do it.
Okay. And first, just so everyone knows that our joke, we usually start the meeting with a joke to put everyone in a good mood for our meeting. And first, now, there's a plane going down over the desert with only 3 parachutes on board. And there are 4 people on the plane.
Let's look at that again.
So the smartest man in the world,
200x. So we're going
That's
to divide both
the
sides.
smartest man, sorry, the doctor,
Good
the
job.
priest, and the nerd.
Good catch, Fernando.
And first the doctor says, well, people need me for my medical skills. Grabbed a parachute and jumped. So then the smartest man in the world says, well, people need me for my intelligence. He grabbed a bag and jumped. And the old,
So 400 divided by 200.
and the old, and wait, that's only 2. I'm sorry. Parachute smart. I had this already. And then the old man, said to the nerd, he said, I've lived a long and happy life, so you go ahead and take the parachute and jump.
Nice.
The nerd said, oh no, there are enough for both of us. The other guy took my backpack. So they both got their parachutes and left. Sorry.
That's good. I heard that one before. The smartest man in the world took the backpack. Like,
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Thanks, Megan.
First step.
You can mute yourself now.
Collision is this.
Okay, and our all counter is, who signed up for all counter? Rick. Okay, thanks, Rick. Do you want to
Yes.
describe?
So I'm tracking your ahs and your so's, and I'm just trying to hear them, and I'll be critical when it's all said and done in a very kind and loving way. And that's what my role is.
Thanks, Rick. And I forgot to mention, I'm wearing, thanks for reminding me about St. Patty's Day the other day. And our grammarian is Paul. Paul, can you describe what the grammarian does?
Sure, the grammarian listens for the word of the day, which is dedication. So please use the word dedication in your table topics. And then I'll also be listening for interesting uses of the English language.
All right, thank you. And our timer is Jesse. Jesse, I'll get those times to you for the speeches.
Okay, thanks. I know it's on the roster. I couldn't put my fingers on it this morning. Anyway, I'll be timing table topics, which goes from about 45 seconds to a minute and a half. I'll be timing the speakers, which goes usually from 5 to 7 minutes with a little leeway, and then the evaluators. And I do need the timer for timing for the evaluators. Thank you.
All righty, thanks. And our general evaluator is Anita. Anita, can you describe that?
Thank you, Pat. I'm the general evaluator. I'll be looking at the whole meeting and seeing how it's run, starting on time, ending on time, and also introducing the evaluators for the speaker 1 and speaker 2. Thank you.
Thanks, Anita. That's a lovely, you got a good little background there. That's nice, outdoors. Okay, and now we will, I will introduce our speakers for today and their evaluators. Speaker 1 is Greg. His title of his speech is Are We There Yet? It's from the Presentation Mastery Pathway. The objectives are to implement feedback from his last speech. The time will be 5 to 7 minutes. Greg, are we there yet? Are we there yet, Greg?
The purpose of this speech is to incorporate some of the evaluations that I got from the last meeting, which I did last week, by the way. And the one I got the most was, your ending was weak. I'm here to confess that my ending was not weak. It was non-existent. I still had at least 2 or 3 minutes of my speech to go. And I saw the red flag and knew it had been up for a long time. And I just panicked and stopped. That's an ending, is stopping and pushing back in your chair, which is what I did. I don't know what happened really. I practiced that speech 20 or 30 times and always came out about 7 minutes and 15 seconds. The only thing I can figure is that when you're talking to a stopwatch and not to people, you may talk a little bit faster. And when you give the real speech, you might throw in some things you want to say that increase your time. And 15 seconds was not nearly enough time for me to finish that speech. So that was my excuse for that. And it was, I guess I'm old, I'm panic easy these days. I didn't finish my speech and I want to finish it now, actually. I talked about a great trip Kathy and I took to London a few years ago and told you about the bar stools that they don't have in bars or at the bar in an English pub. At least none of them we went to had a bar stool at the bar. You either stood at the bar or went to a table. Well, you already know that because I told you last week. But there were two other things I wanted to mention. One, we really liked, and that is that the glasses, wine and beer, had to have a marking on them so that they were filled to the required capacity for those glasses. That's a law in England. That is from the Magna Carta, which was their Bill of Rights done in 1215, for heaven's sakes. That's 800 years ago. And now most of the Magna Carta is obsolete. You don't have to worry about someone racing their chariot down the main drag anymore. But some of those provisions are still in the law. And one of them is that they have to fill your wine or beer glass up. That's a very good rule. So you don't have to worry about some stingy bartender not giving you what you paid for. And the second thing I want to tell you is you're not required to tip. You can tip. They like getting tips. And we tipped almost every bartender and server we had. They were really happy to get them. And we got very popular amongst the bartenders and servers. But in England, when you put down your coin or bill, they snatch it right up. Right the second you put it down, snatch. Where here in America, they leave your tip on the table for the most part and don't even think about it until you're gone. Okay, that's my speech for last week. Jerry Tettleman had a evaluation for me last week and recommended that I encourage you to travel all you can. And I really do encourage that. I love to travel. It's just so wonderful. Plus, I have itchy feet. And my mom had itchy feet. From the time that I was 6 years old until I was in my 50s, I never lived in the same house for longer than 3 years. My mom moved a lot and I moved a lot. Don't recommend that. Kathy cured me of that and I'm happy about that. And I will travel anywhere. I swear, I would pay a fee and get on a plane and not knowing where it was going. That'd be okay with me. I don't care. And I go anywhere. I tell people, oh, I'm going to go to such and such a little town. And they go, what the heck are you going there for? And I go, well, they have bars there, don't they? They have people there, don't they? They have history there. Why not go there? Now, I admit I've gone to places I didn't like, Payette, Idaho, for example, but you can leave. You can go somewhere else. My boss in New York thought I was really crazy. He really did. And I'd tell him, Bill, when I get on an airplane and we take off, I feel my troubles staying back there. My worries and concerns are at the airport, and I'm gone away from those. And it's such a great feeling. And he would always look at me very seriously and say, you know, Greg, you're nuts. That's what he had to say. When my kids were little and would travel, like most kids, I guess, before we got out of the driveway, they'd say, are we there yet? And we'd say no. And then after a while they'd go, are we almost there yet? And we would go, no, but we're almost there. Now, as to travel today, are we there yet? Not for me. I just can't see being on a crowded plane or in a crowded airport yet. We don't even go in to restaurants and bars. We could now, but we don't. If we either eat outside or we don't go. Are we almost there yet? I don't know. The cases are still an awful lot of cases. They're way down, but they're not low enough that I'm not worried still. And you never know when it might spike again. So I would say, I don't know about almost ready. Not for me quite yet. Well, are we almost ready? Yeah, I think so. It's not going to be too long. We're going to be able to go somewhere. I can hardly wait. I'll be ready. Where should we go? Thanks.
Thanks, Greg. We will now take 1 minute for evaluations.
Mhm. Oh, I should put my
Oh yeah, thanks, Greg. About 30 more seconds for evaluations.
yeah. I don't know how I do to everyone.
Ten seconds.
I'll send it out for you, Greg.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Wrapping up those evaluations. And our next speaker is Lucille. The title of her speech is 4 Uses of Flesh and Blood Advisor. Sounds interesting. The objective is it's out of the Strategic Relations Pathway, Level 1, Project 2. The time is 5 to 7 minutes. 4 uses of flesh and blood. Lucille, 4 uses of flesh and blood.
Thank you, Pat. This is part 2 of my project 2, level 1, and is the same as Greg, which I need to apply the feedback from the first part of my speech, which I did sometime last month. And that feedback was that I need to incorporate a story with the points that I'm about to talk, as well as a call to action. And call to action is one of my weak points every time I do a speech. So my goal right now is to try to incorporate that feedback. So the title of my speech is 4 Uses of Flesh and Blood Advisor. As most of you know, my firm is an independent fee-only investment advisory firm, and I'm one of the advisors, and I'm the senior advisor. And what is the value of an advisor? Well, it's personal touch as opposed to a robo-advisor, which you don't meet in person. At least right now, we don't meet in person, but a person-to-person advisor has a personal touch as opposed to a robo-advisor, which most of you are familiar with. So what are the 4 uses of a person advisor? As you all know, it's very important to have an advisor because it's the planning that is important for you as well as the future. So I'm going to share with you the 4 uses of a flesh and blood advisor. One is prevent emotional decision. The second is stop you from making investment mistakes. The third, big purchase decision. And the fourth is decode abstruse pension plan. Let's go to the first one, prevent emotional decision. As you all know, the market is often it gyrates in any given day, in a given year. Every year it happens. So to have an advisor talk to you is very important, because most people that do not have it have a knee-jerk reaction when the market goes down. So let me tell you a story about a client of mine who works in a biotech company. He has a 401k in his work, that company, but he also has a stock options, and he's an executive, so he has an RSO, which is a restricted stock that he needs to liquidate and sell after a certain amount of time that he has to hold it. So those RSOs is now outside of a retirement plan. So it's a brokerage account that he's holding. And he's worried about what the market is doing. And so we talked and go back to, is there any changes in his life that made him think that the strategy we put in place is going to change? He said, no. He said, I still have a stable job, even though there is a pandemic. I still have my pay. I'm not affected by the COVID at all, because I can work out of the house. And so I said, okay, is there any new things in your personal life? No, I still, my kids are still in school, but my wife is doing the schooling at home. I said, so there's nothing that changed in your personal life? He said, none. So what made you think that you need to adjust your investment outside of your 401k? Is because of the market? Is not. I said, we know that the market is always going up and down. I said, yes, there is a reason to rebalance, but doing it right now is not a good decision. And so he has understood that there was nothing really changing in his life. It's just the dynamic of the market is changing. And I said, the dynamic of the market is already incorporated in the plan that we put in place. So for him, just telling him that it's okay not to do anything calms him down, and going back to pointing out what was planned before calms him down. So as an advisor talking personal one-on-one helps prevent emotional decision. Oftentimes, my biggest problem, my time is running out, not biggest problem, as an advisor, I gently guide my client back to a smart portfolio management. The second is stop you from making investment mistake. So I have a client that was another biotech executive who wanted to change job and go to a startup company. And he said that, they have their stock that they're giving me, and there's a signing bonus. And I said, that's a very good opportunity. But I said that let's look at your wife is not working. You have 5 small children, and this is a very risky decision for you to change into a company that you do not know the track record. And he works for a very solid biotech company. So we talked about it, the odds and the risk of him going into a startup that in intensive purposes, most startup takes a long time to get successful, especially in a biotech company. So with that just discussion, he understood that that risk is so much higher than what he has now. That is not an investment in money, but it is an investment of his own time into that company. The third is major big purchases decision. Oftentimes, the biggest investment people has is their home. So I have a client that was in Chicago. She's a new doctor and was offered a job to Idaho. Major big bonus. She's newly married as well, and wanted to know whether she wants to buy a home now because she has got this big bonus and she's got a big, very good salary. I said, well, and then she has a husband who's newly married and who's staying at Chicago because he is still finishing his PhD and he has 6 more months before he does his dissertation. So we looked at the odds of her buying there and knowing the situation there. And she said she doesn't really know. So I recommended that she, first of all, just rent for the time being for at least a year. That way she can find out exactly what area around where her university, where she's working, that she can find a house, because they're also planning to have a family. So those are the kinds of things that you could not talk with a robo-advisor. I know I'm running out of time. And the last one is to decode an abstruse pension plan. Now, most of the time, a state-sponsored plan like CalPERS, I have a client who was a police officer who retired after 10 years but became a firefighter. In the police officer, when he retired, he took out his pension. He's in his 50s now, but because he's still part of the firefighter, who is also a state-funded pension plan, he asked whether he's worried that his wife will not have enough retirement income by the time they retire. He asked if he could buy back some of the pension that he had took out. And so looking into what his pension, the nitty-gritty of it, we're able to crunch the number, and he's able to buy back what he had taken out and put it into that pension again, so that he can have a solid retirement between him and his wife when the time comes that he retires completely from the service. So those are the 4 that is a good use of a flesh and blood advisor. And 1 is to prevent emotional decision. 2 is to stop you from making investment mistake. Big purchase decision, decode the pension plan nitty-gritty. And in closing, if I could leave you one message, and that is a person-to-person advice is invaluable and worth it now and in long term. Thank you.
Thanks, Lucille. We will now take 1 minute for evaluations. About 30 seconds left for our evaluation. Ten seconds. All right. Can I get a timer's report for both speeches? Jesse.
Yes. Greg qualified at 6 minutes and 50 seconds. And Lucille, I'm afraid, was over. She came in at 9 minutes and 55 seconds.
All right. Thank you, Jesse. And we usually, in the in-person meeting, we cast our votes for the speaker, but we'll do that later. We have a little online survey. I will now introduce our general evaluator, Anita. Welcome, Anita.
Thank you, Pat. Our first speaker was Greg, and I'd like to introduce his evaluator, Stacy.
Hi, everyone. Greg always has fun speeches. I've always loved them. And his project today was to redo a speech that he had done before and make it better. And as he admitted, there was no conclusion on the last time he did it. So he made well sure that he would have a conclusion this time. So what I loved about your speech was that you have such a great sense of humor about what happened, and you explained it to us, and that you're always have a smiling face, and it just makes the audience smile. I believe when you're happy, everybody's happy. And what I heard was itchy feet. That's a great way to describe wanting to travel all the time. I probably have that too. I think that's great. That you kept referring to the title, and that you did have a better conclusion this time, and that you're also a great storyteller. I think that that's a real skill to have, to tell stories, and it kind of draws people in, makes them want to hear. What you could improve on is perhaps leave out the explanation of why you were doing the speech, because it was on the agenda and I saw it when I read the agenda, and so it might not be necessary to take up the speech time with doing that. But other than that, great speech. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you, Stacy. Our second speaker was Lucille, and I'd like to introduce her evaluator, Charles.
Thank you, Anita. Lucille, I really enjoyed your speech. It's so timely because finance is everywhere, from GameStop, AMC stocks. It's all over the news. It's hard to avoid. And I think that the way that you delivered your speech, it highlighted the importance of having a person to talk to. I want to focus in on a couple of areas and highlighting some good things, and then some things that, some areas for improvement. Organizationally, I loved the anecdotal stories, giving everyone a little piece of your perspective of why the 4 uses of flesh and blood and having a financial advisor was really key. I thought that was a very nice organization, very clever title. The logical progression, each one, you told us what you were going to talk about, and then you moved through each of the different topics. So I really appreciated that organizational structure. Transitions, it was really clear that you were moving through the speech in a very organized manner. One area that you did ask for focus was the closing. And that was, again, you were over, so it probably got crunched down a little bit. I thought the first part of the your call to action was really strong, but I was hoping you were going to make a pitch to us to spend some time with our financial advisors, or if we don't have one, to find one, because it makes all the difference. Again, great speech, very timely, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Charles. And back to you, Pat.
Thanks, Anita. We can, in your mind, you can kind of pick, cast your ballot in your head for your evaluator, and then we'll have the survey later on. I just wanted to say I really enjoyed the speeches. Itchy feet is a term I haven't heard in a long time. I like that one. And Lucille, about how the market's kind of gyrating. That was a good, I like that use of language. And it was a good point. I think people like someone to talk to face to face. I remember when I was a mechanic, we would go on test drives with customers, and sometimes they just wanted to talk to somebody. They just wanted to, there was really nothing wrong with their car, you know, or we would check it out to make sure there was nothing abnormal, but sometimes they just wanted to, is this right? Is this okay? It's a new car, you know, they don't know. There's some noises are a little new, so, but they just talking to them calms them down and gets them moving. Now we will have I will introduce our table topics master, Devin. Welcome, Devin.
Thank you, Pat. I'm excited to lead table topics for everyone today. Before we jump into the questions, a couple quick reminders. So the word of the day is dedication, which is a quality of being committed to a task or a purpose. So we want to work that into our answers. You can also use dedicated, dedicating, so different forms of the word are perfectly acceptable. So one example would be, I have been dedicating 15 minutes a day to take a walk to further my exercise habit. The second is timing. So you need to speak for a minimum of 45 seconds to qualify, and then you want to cut it off around the 1:30 mark. So you want to make sure and I know everybody's screens are a little different, but make sure you can see Jesse, who's our timer, and look for the green and yellow and red cards so you know when you're good to stop talking. And then the final piece is the purpose of table topics is really just to give us all a chance to practice the, on the spot improv kind of speaking. So really the most important part is that you just say something. So if you get the question and it stumps you, you can answer one of the previous questions or just tell us a little something about yourself. The purpose is just to speak. So with that, we'll jump into our topic of the day, which is habits. And when Pat mentioned that, the first thing that came to mind for me was one of my favorite books on the topic, which I don't digitally, this isn't going to display very well, but it's The Power of Habit. And I know we have some other fans of this book in the group because it's come up in a few speeches, but very interesting on how our brains work, how we form habits, why we form habits. We have a tendency to focus on negative and bad habits, but really all a habit is our brain trying to save us some time. It's trying to create those shortcuts and make our life easier. And there's a lot of good that comes with that as well. That's kind of what we'll be focusing on, kind of the good and bad, how we change habits. So where we want to start though, is there is a very common expression out there that it takes 21 days of doing something to form a new habit. You'll hear people say that a lot. There's a lot of other scholars that say that's a total myth. It's going to depend on your personality, what you're trying to change, all of those factors. So Paul, first question goes to you. Do you think it takes 21 days, or what do you think it takes to create a new habit?
Wow, thank you, Devin. I want to use the word dedication, and since Rick and I have a fun rapport on these table topics, Rick, I dedicate this table topics to you. So why, I don't know. I just wanted to use the word dedication. All right, so does it take 21 days to create a habit? I don't know, I think sometimes it takes longer than that. I think it takes a lot of doing something and doing it to repeating it and keep on doing it. And then even sometimes when you do it for 21 days, it still doesn't become a habit. Sometimes you forget, life gets busy, crises happen. There's winter in Texas, all kinds of crazy stuff happens. So I think 21 days is probably too short. I think if you do something for 21 days in a row, maybe. But I think sometimes some habits take a lot longer than just 21 days. Some habits, it takes a lifetime to master. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I would have to agree. I have some of those habits myself. I've been working on my whole life. So again, like I said, there are kind of what we consider to be good habits and bad habits. So I think that's always an interesting thing, that it's a category that can go either way. So let's see, who would like to share an example of a good habit you have, something that you consider one of your best habits? And that one, let's go with Jerry.
Thank you, Devin. One of my good habits. Well, I like to exercise first thing in the morning, and I've gotten in the habit of doing that. I not too long ago bought a Soul Cycle because I like to exercise and I like to ride my bike outside. And I used to go to the gym every day or most days, but because of the pandemic, I had to exercise at home. So I got the Soul Cycle, and it's like a Peloton. If you don't know what that is, it's a stationary bike with video screen. I think it takes a certain level of dedication, and it's really a decision. You make a decision and you decide to do something, and then you dedicate yourself to it. But the habit gets you through it where you don't have to think about it anymore. You make the decision once, and then after 21 days, you've been doing it. Hopefully it becomes a habit. So I think, dedicating yourself or creating good habits is really the way to go, because I hate to be redundant, we are creatures of habit, and that we do act in patterns of behavior rather than just making the decision all the time. So the best habit I have, I guess, is the exercise. I have other ones too, but that one's what I'm excited about today. Thank you.
Thank you. So like I said, there's also ones that we consider bad habits. So for me personally, I've struggled with biting my nails my whole life. Tried many times to beat it. And then a pandemic broke out, and we were getting all these warnings to not touch our face, not touch our mouth. And I was like, oh no, I have got to get a hold of this. And so then what am I going to do? And one of the things, the power of habit he teaches, is that you can't just get rid of a habit. Something has to take its place. So for me, what I found, if I keep my nails painted, I do better with not biting them. But that means I had to put aside time each week to make sure I was taking care of them and painting them. So what have you found over the last year that maybe you had to change because of all the 2020 circumstances? Did you make any new habits, or did you change any of your old habits? And for that, let's have Corey.
Thanks, Devin. I really appreciate this question. I felt like this is something that I could definitely answer. Me and my wife, every year, we take 40 days no drinking at the beginning of the year. And we did this year, and I continued it. So I'm on almost 3 months no drinking, which is pretty big for me. I think that as far as a habit, what I would do is basically every day have a beer, at the end of work, the end of the day, and that would calm me down. And I like it, but I don't want to rely on it. I don't want to have to drink a beer. So I stopped, and it's actually been really good, beneficially for my health, for my mindset, and I really enjoy it. My substitute, that what I'm doing is I'm drinking soda water, which is really nice. It's healthier, obviously, gives me that little kind of bubbly. I like being dedicated to a healthier kind of fix than something that potentially isn't the best in the long run. And I need to start thinking about longevity. I think it's important to think about longevity, and especially with the COVID and the crisis and everybody being negative, I think it's good to kind of turn the page a little bit and focus on doing better things. So that's my point of view.
Great, thank you. Tammy, as our guest, would you be open to trying?
Depending on the question.
Okay. Sure. So another term I learned this year was habit bundling. So this is the idea that if you're trying to change something, you join it with something you like to do. So if you need to go spend half an hour on the treadmill, you pair it with your favorite TV show. For me, if I wanted Starbucks, I had to walk there. That was one I did this year. So have you ever done any form of habit bundling, giving yourself a reward in order to change something that you wanted to change?
Sure, thank you. So similar to what you had said, I have established an exercise routine, and during COVID, I've had to adjust it. But a lot of what I do is I do beach walks, and in order to get myself up in the morning, sometimes I will go to the beach and think about rewarding myself at the end, the stopping by one of the many little coffee places in Carlsbad Village and get a coffee. And so that's been a way that if I don't feel like it, getting up and moving around, that it sort of motivates me to keep going and to try it.
Great, thank you. Yeah, that's a perfect example. Beach walks are great for that. All right, so just one last one, because I think we're coming to the end of our section. Another thing somebody suggested was an app called Habit Hub. So I've been trying that, but again, it gives you a reminder every day. You have to check in, and you can also use the same reward system. So you can put that in. Once you hit a certain number, you're allowed to get your reward. So this will go to Angelus. Have you used any sort of technology or tools like that to help you when you're trying to form a new habit or change a habit?
Thank you, Devin. I'm actually kind of driving right now, but I could answer this. I am the worst with habits. I don't have a set schedule, so I don't think that would work because I'm always like turning off my alarm. So I wake up in the morning, and I wake up at like my natural alarm clock, you can say, because I could go to work at any time I feel like it. And my husband has been telling me to stop doing that, especially with the time change. I used to wake up at like 9. I wake up now at 10. So I need to stop doing that. But I do think that for certain people, it is convenient to have an app like that, because like my husband, he works on like a schedule and a certain goal. And like right now he's trying to lose weight in order to join the National Guard. And he likes to reward himself after a certain amount of weight that he loses. So I do think it might be helpful for certain people. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Excellent job, everyone. Very interesting. Again, the book was called The Power of Habit, if you're interested. And with that, I will turn it back over to Pat.
Right. Thanks, Devin. Very interesting take on that. May I have a timer's report for the table topics, please?
The table topics, looks like everyone qualified.
All right. Thank you. And can we have a grammarian report on the word of the day? Was it said by Paul?
So I said it, Jerry said it. Corey, I didn't hear you. You say it. Did you say dedication? Okay, good. So Corey said it. Tammy, I didn't hear the word dedication. All right. And then Angelus, I know you're driving. I don't think I heard it, but if somebody said she said it, please help me.
I didn't say it. I forgot.
Okay. That's okay. So we have Paul, Jerry, and Corey.
All right. And we will have that survey coming out soon for the vote for so we can count the ballots. And may we have a general evaluator report from Miss Anita.
Thank you, Pat. The meeting was great. It's been awesome. It started on time, and Deanna always starts so upbeat and friendly, introducing everybody, saying hello, and welcoming our guests, both Diane and Tammy. And it's just such a wonderful start to the meeting. Everything went fine and moved along. the speeches were wonderful and awesome, and so were the evaluators. Both gave very relevant and good evaluations. I love that Pat talked about the speeches after the evaluations were given as he transitioned into table topics. And that was just a really good thing to do. It added to the meeting. Table topics were perfect. I love the way that Devin talked about the purpose and the timing and all of that of the table topics. It's just been a great meeting, and I think it's going to end on time as well. Thank you.
All right. All right. Thanks, Anita. Great report. And just want to, and I'll pass it on to Deanna in a second. I just want to say thank you to everyone. This is a great topic. And I know the COVID has kind of thrown everything, our routine curveball. So give yourself some grace on trying to keep to those habits. So with that, I'll turn it over to Deanna.
Thank you, Pat. I was telling Pat to send it to make sure you turned it over really quickly. We're short on time. So just our reports. Anybody wanted to do the on-counter report really quickly?
That's me. I had it.
Okay, do it.
So I've got, everyone was doing really, really well. Pat had like 2, being the Toastmaster is very good. Devin, really good. There was Anita. You need to work on and. You kind of like to interject that between your sentences, and you have some, maybe 3 ahs and 1 ah. And there's, as an example, with Tammy, you had about 4 ums, 2 so's, 2 i's, and an and. So you got to kind of clean that up a little bit. I know when I stay away from public speaking, I get brutalized when I come into this group. So I'm probably racking them up right now as I speak. So there you go. But anyways, there's a couple of them. But overall, as for the group, you guys are really good.
Thanks, Rick. Paul, did you want to do a quick grammarian report?
It'll be lightning fast. Greg, I love Magna Carta. I mean, how many people use the word Magna Carta in a sentence? And Lucille, flesh and blood advisor. That's so descriptive. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Paul. And Devin, if you want to give me the winners, that'd be fine. And just really quickly, Tammy, would love to hear what your impressions are of your meeting today.
Sure, thank you. A little intimidating, but you seem like a really great group of people and into giving constructive and loving criticism. So it sounds like it'd be a really good place for me.
Thank you, Tammy. Would love to have you. The key is just coming, showing up every single week, and little steps every so often, right?
Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Did you have a special announcement?
Thank you, Madam President. I wanted to just reiterate that you should feel really good that you are a select distinguished club at this time, and we have 3.5 months to go. And I know you're so strong and dedicated that let's see if we can get it across the finish line for President's Distinguished. That would be awesome because you guys are so strong and so good. Would you like me, Deanna, to announce recognize a couple of these members at this time?
Yes.
Okay, one moment, please. There are 3 members of this club that we would like to recognize now for their achievements. Angeles Vega Hernandez, she has achieved level 1 of the innovative planning path. Let's all give Angeles a hand. Congratulations, level 1. Devin DeVries, sorry about that, has achieved level 1 of the strategic relationships. Congratulations, Devin. Let's all give Devin a hand. Great. Stacy Smith Bacon has achieved level 1 of strategic relationships. Let's give Stacy a hand. Wonderful. Just keep these speeches on track at Pathways. We want to make sure that we're giving Pathways speeches. I wanted to ask real quick, I had mentioned to Deanna, your president, I talked to her about Natalia Overcheck. Has she visited your club yet,
Not
Deanna?
yet.
She has? No, she
No.
hasn't. We have a member in Area 18, Carlsbad Oceanside Toastmasters, who's become very proficient at giving presentations on pathways, and she's going around to all the clubs. And so if you have some time during a meeting, I know that she'd be happy to give her presentation. Anyway, it's great to see everyone. I'm happy to be here. You continue to be a strong club and just keep on going. I hope to make another visit before the end of this Toastmaster term. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Thank you so much, Diane. Okay, really quickly, the winners. Best speaker, Greg. Best evaluator, Charles. Best table topics, Corey. And with that, I am formally ending today's meeting so that we can qualify for the Meeting Excellence Award. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Good job, everybody. Good job. So what I'm going to do is send out the roll sheet.